Hello! A quick disclaimer Green Team received an arc of the Emilie Adventures by Martha Wells courtesy of NetGalley and Tort.com. We thank them for the early copy for review. All opinions are our own. The Emilie Adventures releases on May 13th, 2025. Hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Green Team of the Legendarium. I'm your host, Befuddled Panda, and joining me today is Cesky.
Hey, everybody.
Cesky and I are excited to chat about The Emilie Adventures by Martha Wells, author of the very popular The Murderbot Diaries. But today we are talking about her YA steampunk fantasy adventure duology that Tor is re-releasing as a bindup. This bindup consists of two YA steampunk fantasy adventure stories featuring, you guessed it, a girl named Emilie. The first book is called Emilie and the Hollow World, originally published in 2013. The second book is called Emilie and the Sky World, originally published in 2014. Since we're discussing two books in this episode, a quick overview of the format. We'll start with a spoiler-free discussion of both books, and then dive into a spoilery chat of both books. Timestamps for each section are in the show notes. Okay, Chesky. To start off our spoiler-free section of both books, what is this duology even about? What would you say this is about?
In a way, this story is about a young woman who goes on adventures. Two adventures, in fact. I think it's a nice kind of coming to terms with the changing world, setting off on your own, choosing your own life. There's some things I want to talk about later that I thought it did really well. It was fun. It's definitely got that YA feel to it. And I think in some parts, especially the second book, I had a little bit more of that Martha Wells writing feeling versus the first book. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Okay. Yeah, I would say the first book, Emilie and the Hollow World, it's very much like a pirate adventure without explicitly being a pirate adventure, but it pretty much is. And then the second book is like a pirate adventure but sci-fi.
I don't know. I felt the. I mean, we could talk about the lack or the depth of the sci-fi in a little bit here. I
Okay.
always, me, guys. I love to have more magic and more sci-fi in it. Than the more the better. And this one just is light.
Fair. So let's give like our general feelings, overall ratings. What would you give? Let's talk about the first one, Emilie and the Hollow World. What rating would you give that?
That one. Now, this is me as an adult. I would probably give that one like a low 3, like a flat 3. It just,
Mm,
I did not like the first one as much. I'm not
yeah.
sure. I think I know why, but it was just. Well, I want to save it for later. I'll save it for
Okay.
later for when we're talking spoilers about why I just don't. I didn't resonate as much with it.
Okay. Fair. For me, Emilie and the Hollow World, I I think 3 is a little generous. Just a little bit.
Well, I was thinking 2.5, but higher, so like a 2.7, but I couldn't bring myself to give it a 2.
I know we both love Martha Wells. Like of what we've read from her, which for me is primarily the Murderbot Diaries. So this is my
Yes.
first foray outside of Murderbot. And granted, this is some of her earlier works as well, although not like that early because she's been writing for a while. So I was disappointed. I thought it would be better. Now, talking about the second book, Emilie and the Sky World, I feel the same as you. I liked it much more than the first one. It was more fleshed out. It and just the writing overall was better
Yeah, I think that's
and
part
quite
of it for
noticeable.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what would you give Emily in the Sky World?
I would give that one like a 3.25.
Yeah. Okay. I'm right about there with you. Maybe up to 3.5.
Yeah.
Because I there were a lot more things I liked, and I couldn't. Part of me is like, is it just because I know all the characters now, and so I
I
have an easier
know.
time remembering all the names now? Okay, I'll talk about it a little bit. A spoiler, a little spoiler. There's a lot of characters in the first book. There's a
I
lot of
don't think that's a
characters,
spoiler.
and it was a lot to deal with. I feel like maybe
Yeah.
if she'd cut down the names by half,
Yeah.
then I would have been make it more personal. Like the second book, everything felt a lot more personal to the
Yeah.
characters. Like I felt like the characters had actual character moments and character things with other characters
And not
versus
just the name.
versus the first one. And I don't want to get too into it, but like the first one just didn't have that as much.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
I agree. And also, I don't think this is a spoiler. To me, the character Emily,
mhm.
especially in the first book, it was very hard for me. Well, did you catch what her age was?
uh, 13 to 15.
She's supposed to be 16.
Oh,
So, to me, that was like a huge miss. Is she's supposed to be this older, like, adolescent person,
sure.
but the character, the conversation, her dialogue, how she behaved, and all of that seemed much younger to me.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I can see
I
that
thought
for
she was,
sure.
like, 12. Just, like, if you just go by, like, what the character says and does, it was, like, 12 or 13.
I can't say I thought she was that young because I think I was getting like minimum 14-ish
Okay.
kind of age range where it's like you're not like a teenager yet, but you're not like a kid anymore. Is kind of my
Mm,
feelings on
okay.
how I felt like she was because she had skills, but not the full set yet. You know what I mean?
Sure, sure.
It felt like
She's
she
going through
happened.
puberty.
It felt like in the first book, she happened into a lot of stuff by chance and
Mm,
by just doing it, and it worked out. Versus the second book, felt a lot more deliberate and in charge of
yeah,
what she chose to do.
okay.
Does that make?
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, I feel like we're really stretching the bounds of non spoilers here.
We haven't said anything plot-wise that's specific, you know?
Here's a question for you, Panda.
Yeah.
The first book, to me, felt like it was very slow. It just
Uh-huh.
was a lot slower to read for me versus the second book I read incredibly fast. And it
Yep.
was like did it feel the same way for you where the first one
Yes.
kind of just like kind of dragged a little bit and or just I don't think it dragged because I don't think the story ever really like fell apart where it would be dragging.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it limped along a little bit in a couple places, but it was never dragged. Versus the second one, it was like a power walk slash sprint the whole time.
I feel the same way. I do think
Okay.
the first one is a little convoluted. There were probably some things that could have been tightened up a bit. But then,
Kill your
there is the
darlings.
question of did we read the second one faster because we were already familiar with certain things?
Mhm.
Yes, that could contribute to it, but I think if you look at them objectively, like, the first one was just
Just weaker.
not. Yeah, it was just weaker.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, Martha Wells, if you're listening, we still love you. We still want you to keep writing books. This is no comment on your ability now. Everybody suffers a little bit when they're first starting out, so it's
Yes.
okay. We know you're there. We still support you
We know what she's
100%.
capable of,
Yeah.
and I am still very much interested in reading her, like, adult fantasy books, like City of
Oh, yeah.
Bones, Rexura series, so that, like, I am not put off by this. It's just
It wasn't that bad.
it wasn't that bad, but I just had higher expectations.
Sure. I feel you.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good for spoiler free. If you intend on reading the books, then stop listening here. If you care about spoilers, if you don't care about spoilers, or if you have read the books, keep listening on. Okay. So, I think naturally we would just talk a bit more about the first book
Mhm.
in the spoilers, and then we'll talk about both of them together.
Yeah. Well, if you can see me, you can see me pretending to take gloves off. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of this book.
I mean, like, there are some things to dig into, but at the same time, like, I also don't have that much to say.
I let's talk about some things we did like.
Yes, let's do that.
I thought that this book dealt nicely with women's abilities in the Victorian slash kind of steampunk era,
Yeah,
where it's like, oh, you're a woman, so you can't do that. But then it's like, oh, actually, she's just as capable, and I'm just as capable. I felt like that was really well done throughout the whole story, where the men look down on her because she's a woman versus because she doesn't have the skills.
right.
And so I thought it dealt with that really nicely.
I agree. So she has oh goodness, we're gonna have to talk about names here.
There's so many names, you guys. There's so many names. I mean, in the first, I don't know the first how much, but the first little bit, you're introduced to Emily, and then her cousin Carethia, and then all of her brothers' names, of which she has three, and they all start with E's because the
Yeah.
author hates us at this point. Then you meet Lord Engel and Lord Ivers and Marland and Daniel and Miss Marland and Dr. Branson, and there's so many names. It's like every character who's on screen, even the soldiers that don't matter, they all get names. And you're like, you could have said the five soldiers went off and did the thing and not like Orin
Yeah.
and Rigger and this person. And I'm like, just like, I feel like that's really what killed it. Not killed it, but slowed it down a lot.
It did
Who's
slow
this
it
one?
down.
Who's
Yeah.
that one? What are they
Yeah.
doing?
Okay, so Dr. Marland is this expert about ether, right? Which is the like magical
You say
current.
ether or aether?
I believe it's ether.
Oh, see, I always pronounce it when it's an AE, I always pronounce it aether. But that's just me.
That's
Tell us
fine.
who's right or wrong, Green Team Chat, please. Support Panda against me here.
No, I mean, you can pronounce it however you want. So he like invents this engine, right, that
Mhm.
can make use of the ether and there's like currents. It's almost like weather patterns basically.
Mhm.
And there is this belief that or legend that there is another world beneath Earth. He sets off on this expedition in an airship. He goes off with his crew, but then something happens. Two of the crew members comes back and says they need help. And so his daughter then
Miss Marland.
Miss Marland. She does
Always
have a
Miss
name.
Marland.
She does have a
Uh,
name though, which
Kara, Zora. So it's like a four-letter word that's
oh my gosh, what is her
unique.
name?
I didn't highlight her name because she's always Miss Zarland. She's referred to like twice
Okay.
by Kenar. He says her
Yeah.
name.
Okay,
But
whatever. Miss Marland
yeah.
contracts Lord Angle,
Hmm.
who is wealthy and
Also a study of the Aether arts, even though he is
yes,
not a sorcerer, but they're
no.
all part of the Society of Philosophers, and they have oodles of money somehow. I
Yes.
was I was a little confused at that point, but
He's an aristocrat. Just
I've learned to deal with it.
he has the title Lord and therefore he has wealth.
Therefore, he has money. Yes. At this point is where Emily stows away on their ship,
Yes.
is found, but it's too late. They're already in the passage to go to the Hollow World.
Yes. Which okay, I mean, I had no idea like what
Hmm.
was really happening and what was going to happen, but the bubble, the description of the bubble that comes up to protect the ship as they go under, basically kind of like a submarine. I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought that, yeah, there were a lot of good things, good descriptions. I, as we're gonna see, I thought the plot is just what needed cut by like half.
I enjoyed learning about the world.
Yeah,
It was
it
quite
just
interesting.
he just too long. That's all. You don't usually see me arguing for cutting the book in half, but this one I don't know. It just although in the ebook it was almost exactly at 50% when the first book
I
cuts off.
know.
So that was impressive. But yeah, they get to the Hollow World. They're kind of half stranded. They can't get back. Their Aether engine has broken. They searched and they kind of don't know where they came out. They devise a method of tracking Dr.
Right.
Marlin's, his Aether engine or Ether engine. They're able to kind of head in that direction when they meet Mer people. These Mer
Mhm.
people are part of a huge civilization that's kind of crumbled and fallen away, gotten much smaller.
Mhm.
The queen kidnaps them, tricks them, tries to get them to fight her battle for her against these nomadic mermen
Yep.
because she wants them under her control, and she's just bad. Meanwhile, at this point, Lord Ivers, who was an antagonist in chapter 1 and then kind of disappeared, has also made it to the Hollow World
Yep.
and has kidnapped Miss Marland and is trying to leave with her. This is so crazy. Like, stuff happens. They get to where the battle's going to be. They end up saving Lord Marland and like getting him back on his airship. And then they're like, "Hey, let's go free the boat," because they don't want to have to fight either. They do, and then they fix Lord Ivor's stuff. Well, they break his stuff so he can't use it, and then they save him and bring him back up. And I was waiting for the double cross the whole time, and there it was.
Yeah.
Lord Ivers had a man on the inside. They try and break out. Luckily, they're able to stop them, mainly by shooting Daniel. That was my takeaway from that. Daniel gets shot as
Yeah.
as collateral damage to stop Lord Ivers. They get back to the surface and everybody's safe.
Right.
Did I miss anything important there, Panda?
I mean, there were these like otherworldly characters, like what
Oh,
Kenar is and Rodney
Kenar and
is.
Rani, yeah.
Yeah, and there's like I forgot what the term is to call
They
their
start with a
species.
C.
Mhm. Yep.
That's all I remember. I'm sorry, there was so much. Like, we get the Queen's name, we get the Queen's Guards names. Like,
Yes.
this Mer Queen, like, getting her name is fine. Like, obviously, we should probably get her name. But, like, I don't know, just so many names.
There's a lot of chasing. There's a lot of movement
Lot of
in this
chase. You're
one.
right, you're right. There was a lot of I maybe part of my problem was it's like, we don't know what's going on. I have to go from point A to point B.
Yes.
Now I need to get from point A to point B to fix this other issue. Now
Right.
I need to go from B to C. Maybe
Yes.
that's all it was. It's just that it's like,
There's a lot
that's a
of
lot of
movement.
movement.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, sorry. We were supposed to talk about things we liked.
I could talk about things I kind of liked. I liked the magic, the little teeny bit we saw about it. I
Yes.
really wish there was more. It felt like 99% steampunk, 1% magic. And I would have liked a
Well,
little
it
bit
does
more.
say
I know. I personally, I like a little. I just want a little more. That's all. 4%, 5%.
if you're gonna have characters who are sorcerers, right?
Yeah.
You kinda set up an expectation of more magic. But in this case, it's like magic-ish. It's
Yeah.
more the scientific kind of sorcerer.
Yeah. And not bad. I wish, yeah, just like teeny bit more. Pump it up, like do more than 2 spells, right?
Yeah, that's true because they do cast spells and you never really get that much understanding of like what are the spells? Like how does spells work?
Yeah. And again, to point to competencies here, I like that Emily does not become a sorcerer, that she's not has this magic power that just needed to be
Sure.
unlocked or anything. She does it all on her own.
She's just a kid with
Yeah.
gung ho.
That's right, and I like that. I also wish she'd maybe been magic so we could learn more about it, but I understand.
Okay, before we move on, there is one aspect that we haven't talked about and it's pretty central to both
Okay.
books. Her family relationships.
A bajillion times better in the second book.
Okay, so if people have forgotten, the context here is her mother ran away from home, became an actress, and married, got pregnant, I guess with like 5 kids.
Well, it sounded like she didn't necessarily run away from home, she became an actress and then they died.
Had kids though, because she's got,
Well,
like,
yeah, they had kids and then died.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and they died quite young, and so then Emily and her brothers, which yeah, total there are 3 of them. So there's 3 brothers, so there's total 4
Yes.
kids, including Emily, were taken in by their uncle Uric and aunt whatever, and they were not the best parental role models.
Well, we're only seeing it from Emily's point of view, and so to
True.
us, everything we see is from her, that they are quite horrible to Emily. They don't trust her. They think she's gonna do the same as her mom, even
Right.
though she's like, "I clearly don't wanna go be an actor or a singer or anything. I just wanna go, do my own things and not be like." I don't know, she feels really abandoned by
Right.
everybody in the relationship after her oldest brother leaves.
Mhm. And so that's why she runs away
Mhm.
because she feels really mistreated by her aunt and uncle. And
Yes.
she wanted to go with her cousin, who runs a school for young girls, and Emily wanted to, like, go help out at the school, maybe get an education.
Totally improper for a girl of 16 in the Victorian steampunk era. Totally
Yes.
inappropriate. How did she not wanna just, sit at home and do nothing all day? I mean,
Right.
so yeah,
Okay.
I it's tough to have anything happen in the first book with her family. I thought it was gonna veer more towards, physical abuse.
Mm,
Just from the first mentions of it in the first little bit, or,
sure. Yeah.
she's very afraid to go home and, what's she gonna do? And, like, that was fine, and then it was like, oh, it's more of just a verbal slash, emotional dumping and leaving, and it was
Yeah.
like, okay, that's just as bad. Like, it's just different. It's tough to explore without somebody to play against. She needed that other
Mhm.
family member, and so spoilers for the second book, but I really liked the inclusion of Ephraim in the second book because he provides a nice. Well, we get to see the relationship between her and Uncle Yerrick first, and I like
Yeah.
that. And then him being there the whole time, I was like, "Oh, come on! I knew you were gonna do this, you dummy
Right.
kid! Like, get out of here! Like, ruining my book time with Emily here." But I think it did work out in the end, really well in the
Yeah.
second book.
Okay. So let's spoilers for both books now.
Hmm.
I got frustrated with, when Uncle Uric shows up at Lord Engel's estate and is like
The shipyard,
threatening.
yeah.
Yeah, threatening, Emily and trying to get her to leave, and only finds out, what Emily's been up to after she comes back from the Hollow World, and all the newspapers are talking about it and mentions her.
Well, it's been like less than a week since she ran away,
I think so, yeah.
right? So, yeah.
And then the inclusion of her 2nd younger brother,
Mhm.
not the youngest brother, but
Right, because
the
it goes Aaron, Emily, Ephraim, the next one.
yeah, I don't remember the next one.
I don't it's
Ethan?
yeah.
Uh,
It's an E name.
yeah. That was very interesting to see, but yes, it was still annoying because it was I could feel Emily's frustration when she's trying to explain to Ephraim, like, or Ephraim, however you would say it, why she ran away, why, like, what the uncle said, which he literally, like, called her a prostitute
Yeah.
in front of,
High
family, friends.
society. Yeah.
Yeah, like, wow, and Ephraim's like, "I don't understand, like, he would never say these kinds of things," and how Martha Wells writes Emily understanding her realization of, "Okay, my brother doesn't understand, like, my experience because his experience with the uncle and the aunt are so different."
Mhm.
And she's trying to communicate and relate to him and help him understand where she's coming from, and she's finding that very frustrating.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I thought their relationship was, like, incredibly well written in the books. Her frustration over, like, him not understanding things, and just the way she gets frustrated way quicker than she probably should because it's a family member and because of the
Right.
hurt. Like I thought that was in the second book really well written, and I think the second book as a whole obviously is just much better written. Yeah, the relationships, the dynamics between the both of them, where he does have that mentality of like, oh, I can't. You're just a girl. Like, what are you gonna do? And she's like, oh, you're gonna call
Yeah.
me useless again, like because I can't do something. And he's like, no, no, I wasn't. I definitely wasn't gonna say that. And and then it like she forces him to think about it and stuff,
Yeah.
and he grows. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And also she has the realization that, how she felt abandoned when their eldest brother left for the merchant navy, that her
That was
brother.
Sorry, that was
What?
brought up so many times. I was like waiting for the merchant navy to show up at the last page and be like, "It's me, your brother. I'm finally back." Or you know what I mean? Like, because every time they mention him, it's like it's Aaron in the merchant navy.
Yeah,
Aaron
yeah,
in
yeah.
the merchant navy. Like, just so I was like, I really thought he was gonna show up at
Sh
the end and be like, "Here I am," and he did not, of course.
Yeah.
Jerk.
I mean, it was a pretty jerk move. But yeah, when Emily realized that her feelings of abandonment, that's how Ephraim felt when she ran away. And that kind of clicked in,
Mhm.
she felt more empathy towards her brother, her younger brother. So, yeah, I one thing I did notice, and just if we ever talk to Martha Wells, maybe she can confirm, but the relationships, I think overall, you could see the like budding beginnings of what then later became the Murderbot Diaries, because the Murderbot Diaries, the relationships between characters are so central to the series. And done much better. But in these 2 books, like the first book, she's trying to set that up and trying to establish those relationships, which was a bit clunky in the first book. And then in the second book, even though they were published just a year apart, it was much more believable,
Mhm.
more fleshed out. It flowed better. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Should we talk about what the plot of the second book is?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We've been to the Hollow World. Now we obviously have to go to the Sky World, the opposite
Yeah.
direction. But in this one, actually, the Daniel, potential future love interest that I am 100% shipping the whole time. I know nothing happens in it, but that was my thought. As soon as Daniel did anything remotely nice to her, I was like, aha, there's my ship and I'll sail on it.
Oh my god.
But they go to visit his professor, Professor Abinden, and she has them look at the sky at a telescope. Something is coming out of the sky through an ether current. They go inform Lord Engel and Miss Marland and Lord Marland. They all decide it's a really big hubbubaloo and they need to go up and investigate. Now, before we go farther, let me tell you something. I knew that Abinden was going to have some kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Did you predict what relationship it was, or were you wrong like I was?
I was wrong. I was
I was
wrong.
wrong too. I thought it was going to be a potential romance relationship between Miss Marland.
Same.
Same,
Same.
yes. High five, Panda. We are in sync today. Turns out there is a love relationship between Abinden and Miss Marland because they're family. They're mother daughter. So I thought it was just funny. Oh, and Lord Engel actually makes jokes in the second book,
He
and
does.
they're funny, like way funnier than he was in the first book. So they go up to investigate this aether craft coming through.
Uh-huh.
They climb aboard. They find nobody there. The first team, whoosh, disappears without a trace. The second team investigates, also whoosh, without a trace. Emily and Ephraim and their new friend Hyacinth, a plant-like alien,
Yeah.
have been transported to some kind of ether world where they don't know anything that's going on. They come across they come across the missing team that's been kidnapped by the Darrens, Derringers. Do you remember? I know it's not Derringer because that's a gun, but like
Was it not Darenport? No.
Darrenport? That doesn't sound right. Come on,
No, 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 no,
Panda.
no, no, no.
You were
Den
supposed to
Den Denever? Oh, no.
Devery? Let's
Oh
see.
my god.
Hmm.
Hold on. Deverin. Deverrin.
Deverin,
Deverin.
yes. They find the Deverins. Mr. Deverin apparently had a relationship with Lord Marland in the past. Lord Marland reveals this
They
is
were
not the
both
real.
doctors.
They are both
Dr.
doctors and
Deverin and
sorcerers.
Dr. Marlin. Yes, they're
They are
both
both
sorcerers.
doctors and sorcerers of the aetheric arts. He reveals that Dr. Deverin has been taken over by some kind of creature. Hyacinth confirms that, like, yes, there is a creature, came out of the aether, took over one of ours. We learn there's two of them. We have a lot of fights and switches and back and forths about like getting the creatures out. The creatures die. Hyacinth's family comes back for it. Everybody goes home happy,
Yes.
except for Uncle Yerrick, who kind of leaves disgruntledly and like, you have to write. You're a jerk. And it's like, you're a jerk.
You gotta write to your aunt every 2 weeks.
Brah. Exactly. That's how I picture him talking all the time. Brah. I'm your uncle. Brah.
I mean, there's quite a bit to unpack here. It's, like, way more exciting and interesting than the first one.
The plot is much better because the plot is not, hey, we're gonna go look to rescue this guy. Oh no, they're gone.
Yeah,
Where did they go? Oh, we got to go this way. Now we got to figure this. Got to find
right.
him
And
here.
now we're getting attacked and
Yeah, this one was very like, oh, we're investigating, and then things are happening to them.
Right.
It's not just traveling,
Mhm.
right? What did you think about the Aether world?
I thought it was interesting. I mean, they never say the word alien, but
Right.
it very much felt like alien.
Well, because they say, if you go up to the next one and the next one and the next one, there's no real end to like the Aether currents. You can travel up or
Yeah,
down.
they don't know how many layers there are. First, the plant creature, Hyacinth, well, its name is not actually Hyacinth, that's just what Emily decided to call it. I thought that was an interesting element to introduce and a bit of a plot device and provided plot armor at times.
I think you kind of have to have something like that for this book, but
Sure.
I like that they are able to kind of half work a talking relationship until they get their translator. And then once they
Yes.
get their translator, it opens things up a little bit more.
Yes.
I didn't feel like it was a cop out of any kind to have Hyacinth be like actually knowledgeable about Aether and stuff because
Uh-huh.
it just felt like they're more seasoned travelers in the Aether, so
Yes,
they would
that's
just
true.
know more. I love the describing of their ship, and they're walking around in the ship looking for people, and they're like, oh, he always leaves arrows, and the arrow like points straight up, and they're like, what? And then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you just walk up the wall, and I was
How
like,
does gravity work in this ship?
it bent my mind a little bit because I'm like, I don't understand. Like, and then I was thinking, how did Dr. Marlin know to like stick his feet on the wall and start trying to walk up it?
I
Like,
know.
like he's a search party. He's not going to be like, you know what? I'm going to walk on that wall because I can't. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
with no clue to tell him like what's going on.
Yeah.
I liked the villains, the Aether monsters.
Creatures,
Turns out they were, exiled from
like
their
body
plane.
snatcher type. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, what'd you say?
Oh, I said they were exiled from their plane and they were
Oh,
trying to
yes.
get back. And I loved it got my world building brain thinking like, oh, they're trying to like replicate what their world looks like. And then that like forces a break through this, seal. And I was like, how are they pulling it though? Like they just like grab spaces and put it here and grab it and
Yeah.
put it back. And, that part was cool.
It was almost like it felt like a YA-ified episode of Babylon 5 or Star Trek at times.
Sure.
When we found out that Dr. Deverin was in fact not actually Dr. Deverin, it was some other creature that took over him. I mean, this got quite dark. It was
Yeah.
pretty dark, and like a daughter had to kill her own father,
She
and
didn't have to. She
well,
chose to because he
okay,
does have mind powers over people and can like willy-nilly just choose to go into the aether world and change the stream and he's very very powerful. But
yes,
yeah, I
yes,
agree. It was There were parts that were dark, but at the same time, I never felt like they were dark past the point of YA.
Okay.
Does that
I
like
think it was, like, borderline at times.
Sure, sure, no, I think it went right up to the
Yeah.
fence of, like, if I throw myself over this fence, I'm no longer, like, dark
Yeah.
YA, I'm just, like, dark. Well, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Or, like but I felt like it comfortably stayed within the bounds
Yeah.
of YA.
I think because there was a lot of different, like, levity and also just the nature of the characters, and how they were working through the problems and challenges, it made it so it wasn't so dark, but if you think about it,
Mhm.
uh, deeper, it's
Yeah.
like, that was quite dark.
A body snatcher that can steal sorcerer that can only luckily take over sorcerers, but basically unstoppable once it gets in a sorcerer.
Yeah, and it's like killing the person originally
Limited mind
there.
reading,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it is, you're right.
Okay, can we talk about Daniel and Emily real quick?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, let me hear it.
I, um
Are you trying to take down my ship?
no.
I think you're trying to
No.
take down my ship, that's what I'm hearing in the words you're saying, Panda.
In the words that I am not saying.
In the words you're about to say, I can feel them coming through the stream here.
You think their relationship was believable? Did you think that they were gonna be a thing in the first book? Like,
Yes.
after reading the first book?
Yep. Well, yes, but they literally spent a week together, and so I thought it was like maybe they'll date, maybe they wouldn't. You know what I mean? But like
Mm,
he was set up as a strong, counterpoint to her, being like, I can be a male character. They had good banter. She kind of liked him, he kind of
yeah.
liked her, not in a romantic way at all, but like as in they're friends, and then that can naturally kind of evolve. I was expecting a little bit more time between book 1 and book 2 to happen off screen, and so I thought maybe in book 2 we'd see them being dating or having dated, and broken up or
I see.
something. But then
You
book
mean
2
courted, since we're in
excuse me, yes, they courted.
Uh,
No, obviously I'm not seeing any like real strong romantic vibes between them, but I'm just seeing the potential there is more.
okay, okay.
Like, they have good banter, they do care about each other,
Yeah.
they're both of similar age. She props him up, he props her up, right? Like
That's true. I think maybe, like, my trouble in believing that there was any sort of romance in the first one is because I in my brain, I just thought Emily was much younger, and I was like, "They couldn't." Like, how old is this Daniel dude? I thought he was in his, like, 20s.
Oh, I don't know, I guess I could have gone with him. I didn't really get a good age feel for anybody. I got
No.
distinct age groups. You
Mm.
have Emily
Adults?
and Daniel, you
Yeah.
have Miss Marland and, like, the soldiers, and perhaps Daniel, perhaps not, and then
Sure.
you had, like, the adults, or, like,
Yeah, the
the
older
older adults.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I felt like I had, like, distinct, like, old people, middle-aged people slash young adults, and then, like, teenagers.
I guess.
So I can totally understand. I'm not when I say I saw the ship and I jumped on board, I don't really mean like there were strong vibes about it, but I can definitely see potentials that like, oh look, they have a little bit of banter here.
Yeah.
Like they could continue that banter over here a little bit. That can
Mhm.
naturally kind of lead into it. He doesn't see her as useless because she's a woman. He's just like, hey, you want to go meet my professor? She think you're cool. Like, we can
Yeah.
go tell her about this adventure. Like, he thinks she's strong and she thinks he's strong, and so
They complement each other.
yeah. I wanted to know more about Daniel's magic. Oh, you're a
True.
naturalist mage versus whatever the other mages are, like an aether mage. Like, tell me more, please. Like,
Right.
you know, hit me up with that.
Yeah. What else? What else do we wanna cover?
Like I said earlier, Lord Engel was actually funny in the second one. He cracked a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're what's it called when you jump on a ship and you're not supposed to? Starts with an S.
So
Yeah, you're stowaway. It's like being a stowaway runs in the family because
yeah.
her brother had just stowed away, and I'm like, that's actually pretty funny. Like, You
Yeah.
know, like, and she's like, I guess it does, but I don't like it when I'm on this side of the stowaway line.
Right.
So, I mean, just the humor was a notch above, and you know,
Well, and also there's, like, maybe some kind of flirting between Lord Ingle and, Miss Marlin's mother,
Abinda, yes,
Dr. Abindi or whatever.
Doctor Abindon. I like that everybody who sees her is like, what are you doing here? And I was like, wow, hate on this professor. Like, what's up with that?
She's just a direct, rough person.
Strong-willed woman in the
Mhm.
steampunk age.
I do like that, at first I was annoyed that Ephraim stowed away and was gonna cause trouble for Emily, when she is starting out in her new job as, like, personal secretary for, Miss Marland, but
Personal secretary for a woman being a woman. Like, I mean, I know she goes on adventures, but like the gist of it was this like Miss Marland as a woman needs a secretary to like coordinate her, to help her out with everything. It's like
yeah, the logic there,
no, it makes
um
total sense for steampunk. I'm just like it's just funny.
But, like, Ephraim being able to witness how his sister because at first he was like, "How did you survive the hollow world? Like, you did what?" He just, like,
Hmm.
didn't have any he didn't believe it, and then he got to see firsthand just how capable
Yeah, how
Emily is.
competent she is
Yeah.
and brave and resourceful. Yeah, I agree. I liked that Efren did not poison everybody else around her.
Mm,
Not poison literally, but poison in their minds that
sure.
yeah, she can't do anything. But he was convinced instead.
Right.
Like, oh, I just thought you were gonna, go to the docks and cry because you couldn't find him. And she's like, I'm not. I'm older than this. Like, I'm not just a child who doesn't know how things work.
Yeah.
And he's like,
And
oh well.
perhaps, this is not as explicitly said, it's my interpretation, but Martha Wells did put in there that they used to be really close. Emily and Ephraim used to be really close when they were younger. And, as she grew up, they drifted apart, and partially because of how Uncle Uric treats
Hmm.
them differently.
Yeah, that Uncle Yarrick. Jeez,
I
get out of
know.
here again.
Seriously. If I were to bring some real world, like, experience to parallel that, like, myself I have a younger brother. He's 5 years younger than me, and in the book, they're a year apart, so whatever. But I went off to college, and then I moved out of the house, and my brother was, in high school, and he was still living with my parents. We never had a conversation. We never had a convers and we were really close growing up, but we never had a conversation about, like, "Oh, this is what's happening. I'm gonna be moving out." And, like, it kinda just happened, and for me, I was very much honestly, like, very selfish. I was like, "This is what I need. I wanna go explore the world. I want more freedom, and I wanna live my life." And so, I do think back on that time where what was it like for him? Because one day I was there and, like, I had been there all his life, and then all of a sudden I'm not.
Right. Hmm.
And since then, we haven't explicitly talked about it, but just kind of, like, tangentially have had conversations, and I do feel a bit guilty because, like, we were close, he looked up to me, and I was there to be his companion, I was his big sister, and now that I think back on it, I have some regret, like, I should have been a bit more mindful of what that impact could have on him.
Sure. But at the same time, you have to live your life and you
True,
have to take care. I mean, like, it sounds
but it's a
bad,
balance.
almost bad when you say you have to take care of number one first. But like, if you
Sure.
don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. But like, I mean, I had a similar situation and I also have minor regrets about sometimes like uh yeah, I mean, I'll tell you later, but like it was a situation looking back, I'm like, you know what? That is what I did, and that was weird of me. I'm sorry. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, sorry guys, just abandoned you guys for a while until I guess sorted through enough things in my head to figure it out.
sure. Yeah.
But you know, they do get that conversation, and he seems a lot more chill
Yeah.
with her
Yeah, he's
leaving at the
more
end.
understanding, and, at the end when Uncle Yurik's like, "Make sure you write your aunt," and then Efren's like, "Well, you could write me too, like, I wanna know about your adventures." And she's like, "Oh, okay."
Sure. I'll consider you. So, I think I'm kinda out of everything to say. I mean,
Okay.
it's a 400-page book. It yeah, went fast the second half. Real
Yeah.
fast.
So, that is a wrap for our discussion on The Emily Adventures by Martha Wells, which releases on May 13th, 2025. If you have read this book or these 2 books, let us know. We're really curious what others think about it.
Yeah, totally.
Come find us on the Legendarium's Discord, link in the show notes. And until next time, bye.
Bye.